You look so good.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to see you.
I'm
Wow,
very happy to see
it's
you
been so
too.
long. Wow.
The sunflower that you are.
I was like, "What should I wear for Jhelan?" I was thinking so hard about it, and I was like, "You know what? Let me just throw this on."
I appreciate it.
I love your background, by the way. This board is so gorgeous.
Thank you. I don't even remember which year I made this for. It might have been 29. It might have been COVID. It might have been COVID.
Can
But
I ask you what your board says at the top?
this one,
Yeah.
what would you do if you couldn't fail?
Mm, okay.
Like, I look at it every day.
Whew, Imma take that with me moving forward from this. Hmm,
Yeah,
okay.
please.
As we get into this, first of all, thank you for
That's
joining me. I'm so excited. Um, I wanted to start off with a quote that I found in Kiki Palmer's book, Master of Me.
right.
It says, where is it? It's like right before the book starts. It says, "I have always been an observer of myself, for years at the mercy of others, not anymore." And I guess for her, like as a performer who started as a kid, like she was, like, reclaiming what it means to be a performer for herself and being the one, like, pulling the strings instead
Mhm,
of others. But for me, I kinda, like, interpreted that as, like, like, being maybe a self-conscious person and considering everybody else's opinion first, and how that transition is to, like, learning how to honor your own inner voice over time versus that.
mhm.
Um, yeah, so I read this book last month, and it was such a guiding post for me,
What
but
made you pick up Kiki Palmer's book?
I listen to her podcast, like, every Tuesday. She's just so wise. Like, she's such an old soul, like, she's 40.
It's true. No,
Um,
yeah.
and when this book came out, I was like, "I'm gonna get it," but this was, like, a year ago, I think, and I never got it, and I was
Mm,
like, "I'm gonna get it one day," and I just never got it. And then I was in Target a few weeks ago, and I saw it, and it was on sale for, like, 30% off, and I was like, "This is your moment."
absolutely.
'Cause I bought, like, a pack of cookies and then I left, and I was like, "No, I really have to pee," so I went back upstairs, went to the bathroom, and then I was coming from the bathroom, I saw the book, and I bought
Mhm,
it, and it was the perfect time.
good. Something I've been reading recently, for maybe, I don't know, 3rd or 4th time, is bell hooks all about love. It's a workbook at this point. It's not even just, you know,
Yeah, it's not something you could read once. I read it once, and I need to read it again. I gave the book to a friend, but I wish that I didn't.
you gotta get it back.
I'm gonna get it back. What was your first time reading that book like?
Oh, it was pivotal because she put language to things that I had experienced that I didn't know deserved language,
Yes.
and I was like, "You really wrote that." Like, you really took a chance on relating to an experience that a lot of people are having inside of what they think is supposed to be love,
Yeah.
and it's not
It's just
all
normalized.
about, oh, even the title is, like, so amazing because it's not all about what we think about love, it's all about love.
Mhm,
So, and I think it's just perfect for me at a time. It's like same with this idea of, like, I've always been an observer of myself.
mhm.
The bridge for it feels like somewhere between observing yourself through the lenses of love or lack thereof,
Yes. Yeah.
and then thus the observations of other people through those lenses.
Mhm. I
It's
didn't know we were gonna talk about this book today, but I'm so happy you brought it up. When I feel like bell hooks is obviously a hero, like, that's what a hero does, like, they go in and they bring stuff to light that other people are afraid to or don't know they can. What I loved particularly was when like, just her shedding light on the fact that love and abuse cannot be a simultaneous experience. It has to be one or the other, like,
yes.
they are not 2 sides of the same coin.
Mhm.
It's either or. We know this, but, like, we don't really have time and autonomy to identify the little things that are also abuse that we've probably endured.
Absolutely.
Um, to be able to be like, "Oh, that's not okay," you know?
Mhm.
And we have loyalty to our parents, which is a whole 'nother conversation. But I feel like when I read that, I kinda my boundaries for myself, I felt like I was being pulled out of something. I feel like it kinda put me in a space where I guess I detached from the spaces I grew up in and really gave myself a chance to see things from my in my own way and for myself, and maybe some things for what they really were.
Yeah,
And that changed the way that I saw people and things. Um, and it's a risk because it feels like sometimes I'm risking that comfort and that sense of familiarity, being with everybody. But like, I also just, I don't know, there's just some things I'm not willing to tolerate after what she told me, after what Bell Hooks told me.
absolutely. And it's like, I think we get used to knowing duality, that we think that love and abuse is supposed to go together. Like, you
Yeah.
can't have all good. If there is good and bad, bad is not synonymous with abuse.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
it's like you can have trials and tribulations, but it doesn't mean you're being, like, your person is being chipped away at.
Right. If there's anything that should be a rite of passage, it should be that book.
Mhm. And also, you said something just a minute ago about, like, seeing yourself from a loving gaze and then seeing yourself from a not so loving gaze and, like, the differences in yourself depending on the lens and whose eyes you're looking at yourself through.
Absolutely.
And that kinda goes back to Kiki's quote, like, I feel like for a long time and sometimes now I still check myself, like, I've seen myself through the eyes of people who have told me that queerness is wrong
Mm,
and, things like that,
mm.
and other things, and I feel like that's when I started losing interest in myself, and that's when I started to not have that high self-worth, and that's when I stopped seeing my ideas as valuable, you know what I mean? Oof, I need to read that again very soon. It's crazy though, because every time I go into a bookstore and I see it, like, I pick it up and I'll read, like, one section and then put it back.
Just the joy of seeing
Mhm.
it and her collections, like
You ever go into a bookstore and you
Mm.
make sure they have somebody that there's
Yes,
staff, and you're like, "Oh, okay."
right.
To make sure.
It's
Okay,
very much you better had.
period.
Yeah.
So when did you begin dancing?
I began dancing when I was 4 years old at a small studio that is up the street from where I live.
Mhm.
Um, didn't stay there long. I met my best friend in kindergarten. We both went to a Catholic school,
Wow.
and I was supposed to, like, see her recital one year. For whatever reason, we didn't make it, and the next year, I enrolled at the dance school, and I was there all throughout grade school, um, yep, up until 8th grade, and then I transitioned dance schools when I transitioned into high school.
Since you were 4, wow. Come on, longevity. We'd love to see it. I think it would be nice to kinda start with how we met.
Okay.
Um, so in 2022 yeah, in 2022, I decided that I was gonna go to Philadelphia and sign up for a dance program and kinda, like, initiate my dance training, but in,
Mhm.
like, a program. I wanted something consistent. Yeah, so we ended up working on a dance piece together after that. You choreographed a piece and directed a piece called, Hope in the Hyphenated Space with Paul Madison,
Mhm.
and, a lot of the movement was yours, from a phrase that a score that you created yourself. Can you remind me what monologue that was again? And
Yes, this was Sonia Sanchez, and I'm not sure if it was really even a poem, but it was more like an interview,
yeah.
that was, like, backed by a soundtrack.
Mhm.
Yeah, Sonia Sanchez, her words, she was speaking about the youth and encouraging them, and it was inspiring because I was working with y'all, they're emerging young artists,
Mhm.
and I was as well. I feel like I still am emerging. I don't know how long emerging is. I think
Mhm.
emerging should is always
Mhm.
in ways. I was more so motivated by even how you all received me. So I wanted to give you something that was really thoughtful.
Mhm. That was the first piece that I've ever really sat with, and I remember, like, I told you this on the phone, but I remember, like, after hours being in the studio and figuring out the movement for myself,
Mhm.
because I knew that that was apart from the time that we would spend working on it, like, I knew that that was the only way that I would be able to do justice to the material. I learned a lot from that process. I learned that the way that you start something is not the way that you have to finish it. Just because it feels intimidating or overwhelming doesn't mean that you can't move through it. I really appreciated the way that you showed up for me in that moment
Mhm.
and supported me and made sure that, um, my questions were answered and that I was able to be genuinely supported through that experience. And I
Abs
felt that way, and it meant a lot for sure.
That makes me feel extremely good. It was kinda like a transfer, honestly, of energy because I don't know, Paul really leaned into me in a way where I feel like you are expressing that I leaned into you, so I
Mhm,
feel like the support was literally wrapped like
mhm,
360,
mhm.
like from edge to edge.
I feel like, things happen for a reason, and I feel
Mhm.
like we definitely met at a really, synchronic point and place. But even just amongst the 2 of us and, like, when we would have those, like, work study sessions and then we would
Yeah.
get into conversation about things, there was something that you said to me that stood out, and it still sticks with me, and I kinda pride myself in seeing things that way a little bit. I remember we were talking about career things, and then you use this analogy of, like, feeling like you've walked through a back staircase.
Mhm.
And I would love to hear you tell me about what you meant by that,
Mm.
but the way that I interpreted it was like you took your own route.
Mhm. Anything about my journey that transpired, I didn't think it was going to be that. So to
Mhm.
end up I think about what, Kara Walker says about she's talking about her education and going through her MFA, and she like, I kinda it's so it's funny because I feel like it is reflected in me what she's saying about, like,
Yeah.
just being so much in the terms of, like, in leadership at
Mhm.
such a young age, um, and trying to explain to the people that are literally right under you how you forge a future.
Yeah.
Um, she was the first person to say it in a way that made sense to me, even if it was kinda just like she's just trying to teach people how to get what she got in a way. It was very plain, you know? But I was like, "No, yeah, like, how do I explain a sort of, like, pedagogy of process and how to
Mhm.
be involved, with your own journey?"
Mm.
So that could I feel like that could go very,
Yeah.
like, but 'cause e even in saying that, I kinda feel like I'm kinda in between those places of, like, what my involvement is and what kinda is allowed to just be,
Mhm.
and I don't know if one is exclusive of another, but sometimes control doesn't feel like it's a part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. I'm sitting with that.
Mhm, yeah, like, even when I say something like "for your future," I don't think I mean control a future. I think as I'm getting older, I'm learning more about what it means to not have a lot of control. The
Mm.
reality of not having a lot of control.
Yeah. Do you feel like, instead of maybe, like, the control aspect, it's more like a listening, kinda?
Absolutely. I think some people have an innate ability for listening. It's like anything. Either you know how or you learn how. Um, and I think life will require you to learn it one way or another.
Yeah. No, seriously. Speaking of journeys and paths, did you ever find yourself, like, thinking that something was something that you were supposed to do because somebody told you so, or because, that was the standard, and then, like, realizing this is not for me?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know if I got to the point where I realized it wasn't for me. but based on where I was headed,
Mm,
what I thought or may think is still is just, like, not there or there yet, or, you know, I prime example, like, I went to school thinking that I was going to audition for ALE
mm,
and
mhm,
be an ALE dancer. I had so much experience in the ALE school. I was trained by their teachers, and a lot of my mature knowledge of dance was manifested in that space. Um, and also to say I have family in that space as well. So I thought there was another back staircase that I might could take,
yeah,
and it didn't that door never really opened, you
mhm,
know? So the goal in this sort of, like, traditional trajectory of dance is you do all this studying, you decide if it's something you wanna do. You didn't necessarily have to go to school for it to, start your career in it, but, um, school was something I always knew that I loved, so that didn't really feel like a hard thought process for me.
mhm,
But I did think that by the time I finished, and specifically thinking about my thought process from when I was a freshman, I thought by the time I graduated, I was going to want that, and it just turned out I didn't want that.
mm. Before I ask this question,
Mhm,
I have a lot of respect for Ailey, and
mhm.
I know how important and impactful Ailey has been within our community. I'm just asking this very humbly.
Yeah.
Did you learn things about the company or about certain things that kind of changed your mind a little bit?
I learned things about companies in general,
Okay.
because at the same time, I was also working with a nonprofit dance company in West Philadelphia
Mhm,
that has, like, affiliations with other dance schools. I mean, dance companies in the general area. Um, so and even thinking about, just the system that is school, hierarchies, I learned a lot about company life.
yeah,
Um, and I don't think necessarily that was the deterrent for me. I just had a deeper interest in what I was already doing. So at a certain point, um, I had stopped dancing with the dance company. It was like my at the end of my freshman year, going into my sophomore year. So I'm just gonna focus on school.
yeah,
I had, night classes, whatever, we had rehearsals and all. I was like, I'm just gonna do school, And by the time I got to senior year, I was like, I'm not ready to finish school. Like, we were at graduation day and I did not have the best time because I was sad. Like, I think that was a grieving process that started really early, for me personally. And I think I took it rather hard. Like, I didn't wanna celebrate. I was not in a good space. Um, I didn't feel finished, you
mm,
know? I actually felt like I was just getting started, and I didn't know what I was gonna do because the other
mm,
things didn't necessarily feel important to me.
mhm,
As an artist, it didn't feel important for me to, just kinda, like, and not just, but not to inhabit the role of being the person that just brings something to life or is like a body. Some
yeah,
people are only interested in bodies,
mhm.
and
Body
bodies
1, body
yeah.
number 2, body number 3, which
You
is great.
know, I was very interested in continuing where that bookmark was. I didn't want it to end
Mhm,
per se. So, it was more so about learning myself and my craft versus learning about something that was like something I already knew about systems and corporations, institutions, those sort of things.
yeah,
'Cause they had already existed the entire time and are operating under those manifestations anyway,
mhm.
in a way.
Also, I was looking down your social media and, like, prior, I've seen things of you, like, doing certain things. while being in Philly, I saw the flyer that you put out for dance sessions that you would have in 1401. You would like, do like an extended invitation for people to come over and dance in the space too. And then I saw the flyer for United Pulse in Philly in February. And the ballet and R&B gag that you put on. And I want to know I know community is very important, and I just want to know for you, because it's clear that a lot of these things stem from wanting to connect with other people and wanting to be in community through movement together. Um, but have you always been that way? Have you always felt like, like community was the most important or one of the most important aspects for you as a dancer?
I don't think it was always realized,
Mhm.
but I think it was always felt, even from, me dancing when I wouldn't say when I was 4, 'cause that the dance school that I was at when I was 4, I wasn't really I can't even remember that time, to be quite honest. I just know that that's a part of my journey. But the second dance school that I went to is where I made friends that still are my friends to this day.
Mhm.
So, I think it has just proven to be important to me more than I have,
Yeah.
like, sort of made it a
Yeah.
goal of mine. Um, and then I think carrying on towards arts, I think I learned then the reasons why.
Mhm. Okay.
Um, and I also learned that a lot of people weren't thinking that way, because a lot
Mhm.
of times those offers went, you know, um, a lot of people didn't show up just
Yeah.
like that. So the offer was always there. I was always in the studio, but a lot of times I was there by myself. So I was thinking a lot about who I was inviting to the space, like
Mhm.
through sonically, like how I wasn't. Those moments became the moments that I was able to engage the way that I wanted to, whether or not I had company or not.
Yeah.
But still thinking about the ways that I was in good company with beautiful, you know, music.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that's how R&B and ballet had came about. It was like, this is my favorite music, and I know the girls love R&B,
Mhm.
so we might as well merge the 2 and have a
Mhm.
really great time.
Yeah. And also, like, ballet and R&B merging, that could be such a home for Black people. Like, because I remember you and I had another conversation in Philly, and you were telling me, like, there are things that a lot of young Black dancers don't know. Like, not knowing that there's a reason why some Black people struggle with learning classical ballet because it's literally not even chemically something that we are aligned with.
Right. The
And
body is legitimately rejecting it.
yes.
Yeah, but I think it as a tool is helpful for the information,
Mhm.
you know, if it is just for information's sake and how it supports the other things that my body is interested in.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
if anything, for me, it serves as like the transitional space. I've
Mhm.
learned transition through the lens of ballet. So even if I am pop locking or, heel digging, I'm doing an African step, whatever, just straight improvising, but they're all merging through me, and I think ballet is the thing that really helped with the transition or my
Yeah.
sort of aesthetic through fluidity
Yeah. Hmm.
or
I feel that I would say, like, before going to Philly, like, looking back on footage on my computer when I was dancing in a studio in New York versus now, after having ballet training, I do detect difference
Mm,
in my personal movement, and self-expression. Um,
how do you how do you experience the difference?
mm, I feel more of a connection to my body, and I know that's vague, but that is true. I feel
Yeah.
more of a connection to my body and different parts of my body.
Mhm.
Um, Looking back on footage from 2022, I feel like wasn't using my entire body.
Mm,
And now I feel like I'm more adventurous with it. And I'm more aware of certain parts of my body that I wasn't before. And I think my hips were not included in a lot of the things that I would do before.
mhm,
And now I feel more connected to them in a way. There was a lot of places that I did not feel aware of
sure.
physically
Yeah.
prior to.
I just I love this particular moment because I remember being a 1401 and just, like, encouraging you to find space to move. First of all, we
Mhm.
like, aside from having that space, but, like, literal space in your body and
Yeah.
negative space in between your limbs, and oh my
Mhm.
goodness, I'll probably cry if I watch you dance.
I would probably cry if we keep talking about this. But I remember you telling me, I remember you telling me w one of those days you were like, "Just because you're not, like, a trained dancer, I don't want you to think you don't have access to your body."
Literally.
I think that stuck with me from that point on, and ever since, nobody really knew unless they saw me, like, that I was in the studio so much at night by myself dancing.
Mm,
Giving myself space, because that's really how it started, like, before I even thought about taking any classes ever or going to Philly, like, I would book studio time here to see, like, what lived inside,
mm,
and, looking back on some of that footage, I'm like, "This is crazy," but I was very free, and
absolutely,
I wasn't watching the room, and I wasn't watching myself,
absolutely. You were
and I think that's what
exploring.
I aspire to feel now.
Abs
But something that I'm working on is when I'm in the studio by myself, sometimes I look at the door, and I think there's just this thing subconsciously where I'm, like, making sure that nobody's watching, but you can't do both,
yeah,
and you cannot do both. So sometimes
good.
I'll put something over the window, or, like, I'll deal with it, but also
Yeah.
most of the time, nobody's there. It's really just my mind.
That
But
is so
something.
good 'cause I'm the same. I don't
Yes?
know
Wow.
what that is, but, I mean, I guess it's kinda like dancing in your bedroom by yourself, like, or,
Yeah.
it's like that same sort of mindset because, I mean, same. And I don't know why all the doors in dance schools have windows, but I don't know what that's about.
Even at UArts, there were, like, the side windows that were this big, and people would just be like.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's
Everybody wants to know what's
okay,
going on in class, for
but
sure. Yeah. But
oof.
you're absolutely right, you cannot do both. It's either you're gonna drop in, or you're just gonna be out and
Mhm.
trying to get to
Yeah.
yourself. And there's a
Mhm. Oh
certain
my
point, like,
god.
I can't keep trying to get to myself, and I'm right here, and also there's nobody here. Like,
Okay. Like, no, really. So I think mental fortitude and, like, not worrying about being seen, because 'cause you're gonna be seen regardless, has been my biggest thing, and there are times where I get so frustrated because 'cause I'm like, "I wish I was through this already," like, I've come far in this, but now today I feel like that again, and that is when I get frustrated with myself, because 'cause I'm like, "Damn, I wish that this wasn't still my story," you know? But grace
yes,
and
very
continuing to practice.
very much grace, 'cause it still hasn't left me completely, you know? And I've been dancing since I was 4. Like, I think of it a lot less. I think of it in terms of, like, technique and ballet and stuff like that. It's it's higher that awareness is higher for me than it is when I'm, like, living in improv.
Yeah.
So, that's something that's, like, interesting to come up because thinking about my body rejecting this form, even if I'm trained in it, even if I love this form, even if I know this, seemingly know this thing to myself inside and out, it's there's a caliber of judgment when it comes to it, especially when you're
Mhm.
being observed. So to think about what I look like when I'm doing something and when someone's watching me or in that form versus when I'm using the form to fuel the information in a way that my body wants to move.
Yeah.
Improv is so powerful to me, but in that way, I could kinda care less about what you're seeing because I'm experiencing the thing, you
Mhm.
know, and as long as the experience feels good, I'm going to continue to lean into having the experience,
Mm, mhm.
you know?
Yeah. But I wanna revert back to the studio sessions that we talked about
Mm,
and how you feel in those moments. I was looking on your Instagram recently, and I saw footage of you in the studio, and there was this one 3-video slide in particular, you were dancing, and one of the songs was I think all 3 of the songs were very romantic.
mm.
I think you had on, like, green pants.
Oh, okay.
You know
I
what I'm
know what
talking
you're talking
about?
about, yeah. I'm at,
Um,
like, 405 or something,
I think
407 or
so.
something. Uh-huh.
Yeah. But it was such a beautiful thing to see, like, the length of your body and, like, your arms. I love long arms for dancers.
Mhm.
Every time I see a performance, I'm just like, "Oh my god, the way that arm is, like, gracefully moving through the space." You definitely stepped outside of yourself, it looked like, or into and outside of yourself. But how does it feel when you're in those moments, having those intimate experiences where you're just expressing yourself? And do you ever find a moment where you do something that you didn't even know your body had the language to express?
It feels like a privilege.
Mm,
Um, I feel like I didn't start to really take time in the space until I was in graduate school. Um, like, I wasn't really in the studio, um,
mhm,
in undergrad. Like, sometimes, I can probably count on one hand how many times, like, I was in that space or had invited people in the space with me, like, there's a couple of times, but it really didn't start to happen for me until graduate school, and
mhm,
then to think about, um, resources, right? I just remember so intensely thinking about this, especially in graduate school, like, just thinking about how the world is thinking about the fuckery of the world and the
mhm,
shit show that it is. I started to think deeply about the resource that I had at that time. So
mhm.
if I just go back a little bit to thinking about when I graduated undergrad and, like, not really feeling so happy about it, but then being in grad school, I was like, "Wow, if I was not here, if this opportunity did not happen for me, I wouldn't have access to space."
Yeah, yeah,
So something I think I just became more interested in
mm,
seeing myself in the space
yeah,
and letting whatever happen. It feels like such an honor because I'm still being granted the opportunities to be in space, you know,
mhm,
and available with my body.
yeah,
Because, like, at any moment, if I leave that space or whatever happens, like, it'll be an adjustment to not having the room. I mean, we can get meta about what is room and how you make room for it and all those things, but it's like a
how
studio is
you
a
hold
studio is
space.
a studio. I can go in and out from under my desk and wrap
Mhm,
around the bed, like, but a studio is a studio,
yeah,
you know? A speaker is a speaker, a mirror is a mirror, you know?
mhm,
And those things are so, just significant for an
yeah,
exploring dancer, you know, especially when you get it in solitude. And then the next portion you're talking about, like, the things that my body I didn't know had language for,
yeah.
all the time, all the time. And it's usually when I'm not recording, I'll be like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, that was so ooh, that felt good." And, you know, I because I love improv so much, choreography is tough for me.
mhm,
So I try to make my choreography feel like improv where it has it has the nature of flow,
mhm.
you know?
And you
Uh,
could look back on the video and be like, "I wanna use that."
yes, I'd be like, "Okay, that's a section right there. I can
Mhm,
teach that, I can tweak that, I can refine it." But when that camera don't be on I mean, and if I'm, like, really in love with what I'm hearing, it just is it's no feeling like it.
Hmm.
It's such a
Do you
it's
ever, have you ever closed the mirrors? Cover the mirrors?
at UArts, yes,
Mhm.
yes. That's just liberating completely. Because I'm going for broke. I'm ratchet, I'm ghetto, I'm a ballet dancer, I'm a tap dancer, I'm an African I'm everything all at once with, like, no inhibitions, like, it's everything. I'm a rock star, yeah, yeah. The only thing I'm not is a gymnast, because 'cause I'll hurt myself.
I'm gonna be a little nosy for a second and ask you, in the video that I was referring to specifically,
Mhm.
were you speaking from a romantic place?
I don't know, I think I just love that music.
Okay.
In my mind, can I look at it?
Yeah. Yeah,
I
let me send it to you.
Hmm. I know I wasn't necessarily thinking about love.
Okay,
I
okay.
wasn't, like, trying to interpret something, anything but the music. Like, I loved listening to those things, and
Mhm.
I remember for me, the task was to listen to things that brought different things out of me.
Okay, got you.
Um, I think for the first song, that sort of, like, playful, almost, like, whimsical like, it didn't ask me to, like, be on a downbeat, it didn't ask me
Mm,
to I could kinda frolic,
yeah.
and I love a good frolic,
Mhm.
you know? But then the second one kinda got me into a deeper bag where I'm in a pocket more, um,
Yeah.
and then Snow Allegra, like, I kinda just had an
Oh,
obsession with her at the time.
yeah.
So,
I miss her.
yeah.
I I hope though that her next album is a bit more versatile in
Mhm,
terms of storyline, because I love her music and I love, the relationship gag and everything, but
mhm,
I was a fan of hers really early on, and her music was about a lot more, and she found a niche, and I love that for her,
mhm.
but I need a little bit more variety in terms
Yeah.
of storyline.
That's fair, and I feel like that was around the time when I first got into her, so I was just obsessing. I was just obsessing.
She has a mini album before her first album called, Don't Explain.
Mhm.
I highly recommend. It's like a good there's some jazz elements in there,
Mm,
and it's so good,
very good. Okay,
so
I
good.
need to know that. Yeah, but I think it was more so me being in conversation with them as the artist than, like, what I was going through necessarily.
Mhm,
I don't think a lot of times for me personally, like, it's easier for me to attribute music in itself to, like, my emotional state.
mhm.
I don't It's like I with dance, I don't know if I'm linking it or if I'm just letting it express itself, if
Yeah.
that makes sense, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? It's like, you know how certain songs are tied to a memory, tied to a person, tied to a smell, tied to a place. It can
Mhm.
be like music can be like that.
Not necessarily the lyrics.
Right,
Yeah, yeah.
right, right.
I feel that. I do. And, it's funny because now, there's some songs that I would dance to or listen to in the past, and I wouldn't feel any, emotional connection to the lyrics but the sound.
Yes.
And maybe I went through something similar after, and I'm like, "Wait, the lyrics are too personal."
Right,
And I
right.
didn't feel that way at that time.
Yeah, that happens to me too. Oh, if the melody is getting to me, that takes precedence, okay? Like, oh my goodness, I love a a sound, okay? And I'm big on house and jazz and, like, anything that is reminiscent of that because I think it's directly related to improvisation. I
Mhm,
think it calls something out of me, like, even an African drum, like,
mhm.
it I'm summoned.
Okay, come on,
Yeah,
Summons.
that's 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 how I feel a lot of times. Even just to go back to your first question, like me being in the studio, like it's like a summoning of
Mhm.
sorts.
Yeah. I wanna ask you about, like okay, so we're talking about improv and how much we both appreciate it. I was talking to
It
this guy, and he was like, he's a dancer.
Oh,
He was like, "I love improv, but this is the step," you know? Like and I was
yeah,
like, "I get that, I do." Like, you're a hardworking dancer, I understand, but also dance is not only in the lens of a capitalistic experience, you know what I mean? Like, it is a language, you know? You should be expressing yourself outside of that too. And, this person was saying, you know, like, even when they see performances where, like, the choreographer will be like, "I was really inspired by the stars," like, just things that can be considered silly, but
yeah,
mean something to this person. Maybe they're from, I don't know, North Carolina, and, like,
right.
in their family's backyard, they would all look at the stars, something like that.
Mhm.
He was like, "You know, I don't agree with that because I feel like, you know, people have to pay their bills, and some people are really like, dance is also very political."
Yeah.
And I was like and I agree with you that dance is very political, especially as a Black person,
Mhm.
and knowing, you know, what um, our ancestry has done for dance and how underappreciated it still is, but how amazing it is. Like, I'm with you on that, but also I feel like we can't lose sight of the fact that we still have access to play and just, like, self-expression apart from that. And you know what I mean? How do you feel
Absolutely.
how do you feel about the balance between that?
I'm somewhere right in the middle because I'm raised on getting the step, and I'm very passionate about having a relationship with that step so that by the time I'm performing it, it looks like improvisation because it's felt.
Mm,
Like,
mhm,
I'm I'm there with my journey with dance. Um, People do have to pay their bills, and it requires them to be in unison, you know what I'm
mm,
saying? And it's like, it's super serious, but play, like, when if it it's everything that you're saying reiterated, just thinking about, like, if it's super serious, if it requires this amount of repetition, it is a capitalistic nature that it is performing, and it's perpetuating the thing that we are trying to unwind. It is the very thing that we are trying to undo, and you have to we not you have to, not we have to, but it is important to think about how that is binding our bodies
mhm,
to a
yeah,
structure, to an institution, to some walls, you know what I'm saying? Like, it if we don't have the balance, we're going to be bound,
yeah, yeah,
you know? So I love a good step. I love an 8 count down. I love getting some clear shapes in there. Give me an arabesque. Passe is beautiful. Some turns, fifth position, love it. But then what is it doing
yeah,
is my question.
yeah,
Like, what is the movement doing?
mhm,
Is it just movement for movement's sake?
mm, yeah,
That's we're not all thinking
mhm,
that large about dance
yeah,
or that it is that important.
yeah. I feel like it can become very, like, "What is your job?"
Yeah,
You know? And I get it, I really do, like, I'm not ignorant to the fact that we live in a capitalistic society. But also, like, we are humans, and
yeah,
we deserve to feel things with what we're doing. And I remember there were 2 professors at UArts who I really appreciated. Um, I just was aware that they did not agree with me being there for the sake of trying to figure something out for myself.
mhm,
Because they would say certain things randomly. They would be like, "You should not be here to find yourself. You should be here to prepare for a job." Um, and I was like, "Why do like, you keep saying that, but nobody said anything about that.
right,
Like, let's let it go and
right,
you know." But,
yeah,
but it just I learned a lot about how dance also the word dance, I feel like sometimes people refer to it as like a building,
yeah.
like, dance. you know, we're going into this building, but it's really something that you're doing
Yes.
and it's yours. And I feel like, hmm, I got to learn how some people view it as, you know, a means to survival. And I get that some people could not exist without it. Like even if we think about Vogue and how serious Vogue is in terms of a lot of trans people who could not live without that, literally, or would not be housed without.
Right.
So like I know how serious a lot of these things are, but also we can't let go of the light parts, you know what I mean? Or the parts that bring you closer to yourself. I feel like sometimes we lean too much into the fact that like this can't get better without this.
Right.
You know what I mean? I feel like I I'm with you on being in between. Um yeah.
I think, um, sometimes I wonder how often a dancer will question why they love it,
Mm,
if
mm,
it is love. Like, is it just the job, or do you love this thing? And do you ever ask yourself why? Why dance? Um, that I think can tell someone a lot about their relationship to dance because if okay, I'm going on the train.
we get on this train.
Okay, because even you going back to that question you said I mean, well, the statement about, like, sometimes it's just a job, and me going back to the comment I'm making about someone being bound to that job. It's like, and I'm not just talking about bound in the sense of maybe, like, contracts or something like that, but, like, when
Mhm,
you're a dancer and and well in your job, you're good at everything or you kinda have a specialty and that is your thing, right? So if you throwing your legs up, you're gonna be throwing them up until when? Until they stop going up? If you a
mhm,
turner, you just turn or you spin into when? And then what happens afterwards? But if we don't ask ourselves the question about, like, "Why do I love to spin? Why do I love to throw
yeah,
these legs up? Why do I love to jump? Why literally, what about jumping, soaring, flying, getting
yeah,
as close to those things as possible? Do I stay invested in it? Or is it just the job and the thing that I became good at that
mhm,
essentially is not going to support me forever? If
yeah,
I can dive deeper into what it is, maybe I can find something that can support me forever, even if
mm,
it's not the physical craft.
yeah,
Physicality of it. You know what I'm saying? I th I know that I think less now more than what it was, but dancers become dancers and then they stop and then it's like, "Well, what do I do after this? I've been doing this forever." But if we ask those questions, I think more opportunity opens up for a "then what else?"
mhm, yeah,
Even if it's just to find the ways to articulate it.
mhm.
So, yeah, that I mean, mm, I think the train wrapped back around, but yeah,
You asked a question that I want us both to answer for ourselves and each other. Um, you said, "Why do I dance?" or "Why do I love to
why
dance?"
dance?
Why dance?
That could be why'd you choose dance? Why do you feel like dance chooses you? Why do you like, just why dance?
Okay. I wanna ask you, Jhelan, why dance?
Um, because I have always been dancing,
Mhm,
like and this is before being enrolled anywhere, I was dancing with my cousin in a garage
mhm,
to party music. I was Wu-Tanging, I was doing the heel toe, I was doing the
okay,
things that were the social dances of that time, you know? I was very much the baby showed him that dance that you was doing. I was
okay.
baby. Yeah, I was her. Me and my cousin, we was them. Baby.
Be like, "Chill your ass in this living room right now, chilling."
Yes. So get in here and show them that dance. Yes. But that it's always been that. It's always been art for me. It's
Mhm,
always been a level of creativity all around me. Um, and I think as my relationship to dance has matured, I find dance everywhere. So
Mhm,
it's not always dance and movement for movement's sake and with music and with studio. And I look at life through the lens of dance because it helps me now. Thinking about transitions, thinking about my spatial awareness, thinking about my room and my furniture in it and the spatial awareness and how it moves around, thinking about how I move around, thinking about how I navigate a city, you know, timing. Like
mhm.
this is all dance to me. So dance has kind of exploded in my world. That's why
Yeah.
dance. Daryl, why dance?
Oh my God. Hmm. Well, I feel like there is this feeling that I get that I don't get from anything else. I do love to exercise, I love yoga, but physically, like dancing, it leaves me with a really good feeling. Like when I walk out of a studio after, even if like it was I don't know if there's such thing as a bad class. And I mean bad as in like maybe not being so in sync with the movement or having trouble learning it.
Yeah.
But I don't really know if, there's such thing as a bad class.
Mm,
But even if that, like I always walk away feeling given something in my body. Like I just love that feeling, that energy or I feel more connected to myself. I feel like there's a way of speaking that even as a writer, that I probably don't have the words for.
mm,
Um, mm, I feel like something that I'm working through right now at this point in my life is not letting go of that in relation to realizing how some people in the world might see me as a black man.
mm,
Um, I don't know. I feel like that's not something I've ever found myself feeling trapped inside of. I feel like I've always had a decent enough sense of self to not. I mean, there were times, but I feel like I've found my way out of that before,
mhm,
and I thought I would find myself in that place again as an adult. I think as a teenager, I definitely felt trapped within some kind of monolithic viewpoint, and pulling myself out of that has been my work for a while. And dance is a part of that for me, but I feel like now I don't know what's going on, but I feel like I'm having encounters with strangers where I'm reminded that, like, I have to keep on using my voice, not to prove anything, but so that way I'm not pushed back into a space where I am perceived as somebody's idea of something.
mm,
You know what I mean? Um and I feel like being able to stay connected to myself in that way and, like, who I know myself to be beneath all the layers
mm.
is what dance helps me do, especially when I'm improvising. Um, I feel more myself in that sense.
I'm curious to know if you identify as a writer, do you identify as a dancer?
Hmm. I identify as all of it. I would say that I'm a multidisciplinary artist,
Yes,
but I think it's all connected. Like I
absolutely.
feel you would say so many things to me that I remember to this day, and I don't even think you remember.
I'm
You said you're like, I said that. You look in the mirror, you're like, July, you crazy girl.
But, like, when you say it, I'm like, "No, I said that." Like, I definitely said
Yeah.
that.
There was one time we were also working together, and you said, I'm sorry for the sirens.
It's fine.
If you can hear it, you said when you dance this piece, try to think of it as writing a passage.
Mm,
And ever since you said that, I didn't only take that with me on stage when we did Hope in the Hyphenated Space, I also take that with me in the studio when I'm improvising.
yes.
So when I'm in the studio, I try to even envision my pieces of my body writing something in the space. And that has
My
helped me
God.
kind of like merge the writer and the dancer in a way where it's not separate, because even in Hope in the Hyphenated Space, Paul introduced to me the idea of sharing my writing
Yes.
in the piece and then being in the performance.
Right.
And that felt separate at the time,
Mhm.
but now it feels like I'm able to kind of blend the 2 and find, like, this sense of everything is together kind of
Mhm. So in thinking about your multidisciplinarianism,
thing.
I'm wondering, would you say that dance is the thing that came is, like, the latest thing that came into your so
Mhm.
how has that, like, informed your other practices or, like, maybe that's just it, yeah, how has dance informed your other practices?
Ooh, I think dance made me more vulnerable to myself. Like, I feel like, even changes within my body, it made me more vulnerable to myself and even other people. Like, there were times where we would be in improv with Paul, and we would do these solos. I've never done anything like that in front of people before, and I felt grateful that I could be comfortable with those people to do that. Um, but I would walk away feeling way too seen, and then I would go home and write about it. And it's like you can't turn away from when it comes to vulnerability, I feel like a lot of us as a society, we turn to ego a lot, so we don't have to feel that. But I don't know, I feel like when it comes to dancing, I can't lean into the ego because everything is so obvious to
Mhm,
um especially when people are watching, like, I'm reminded, like, you feel so overseen and vulnerable, and you can't even be egotistical. Like, you are so beneath that you have no choice but to surrender to these feelings.
mhm,
And that definitely, because I would go home and write about it, because that's really all I could do if I don't talk to somebody about those feelings. It's like I would be opened up by dance and then go home and spill it into the writing, or vice versa, depends.
that's that's very profound.
Thank you for asking me that, 'cause
Absolutely.
I haven't been able to reflect on that in a while.
That's very profound. Because I mean, it's like being on 2 opposite sides of the spectrum. Like, having always been in dance, I think
Mhm.
all I knew was a certain level of vulnerability and a certain level of being seen that I didn't know that it was something that to be aware about. Like,
Mm,
I was just, like, existing as this really open pore.
mm,
Um, and I just think about being in college and not even being in a dance class, but being in, like, maybe it was, like, junior seminar where, like, the class was in a studio, but we weren't dancing.
mhm,
And just talking about the future, getting ready for senior seminar and what that meant for our thesis and things like that, and those sort of transitions, or just any class where if I have always this is so ridiculous. It's making me it's giving me a level of self-awareness that I've never had. Just
mm,
thinking of how you are observing yourself. I'm like, in hindsight, this sort of observation is that I have always had a certain level of vulnerability to the point where, like, if I was moved enough, even just in how I'm talking, if this was me 5, 6 years ago, I probably would have cried 5 or 6 times by now. Just because of being moved in what I'm saying and being passionate about something, I was,
mhm.
like, always spilling.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think that, like, specifically, you arts had opened that up for me because I was experiencing dance in a completely different way than all of my training
mhm,
had allowed. Like, none of my primary and secondary training allowed for dialogue and discourse around dance. So, articulation and knowing I had thoughts and knowing that, like, having these sort of rejections about dance, like,
mm,
the things that my body didn't want, the things that my body wanted, things that I didn't know I wanted to lean closer to, that there was words for that there were courses for that.
Now that you have, because I know you have to go. Um, but I want to ask you, now that you have been in this place, in that space for so long, and have gathered so many things, and met people, and have seen all of these different things and different experiences, and now that you're left with this, what do you feel like you would want to, how do you feel like you would want to drive that forward? Like all of this, like time spent with vulnerability and learning that dance can be, there is room for a sense of self and vulnerability and truth. Um, how do you see yourself sharing that or moving that forward, driving that forward
Mm,
in your own way? And even running with that for yourself.
yeah, I feel like there's a lot of ways I could answer that. I think as far as my position as, like, an educator, I think it feels like I am in this position to provide the space for, young people to find themselves in the ways that is not always allowed, you
Mhm,
know? 'Cause I surely was not, like, always allowed, in regards to dance to talk and talk enough to the point where I'm crying, unless I was, like, having a quote, unquote "bad day," and like, that's where I had experienced most of my frustrations is wanting to be better and not being as good as I wanted to be in a moment and being frustrated and crying about those sort of things, like, having a sort of a specific standard for myself that I wasn't meeting and being my worst critic.
mhm,
Um, but I think completely transmuting that frustration into vulnerability, in school, I think it is my job to, like, allow that space. Like, I feel like I see that space, and some people and it's also true, like, that space isn't always going to be taken. That might be one person, in a room
and
of 10.
it's not always necessary,
Right,
but just when it is.
right, exactly. Just to hold it, right?
Mhm,
Um, I say this all the time in the more professional space that I'm rehearsal directing, you know, work has to be done to make a space safe. It can't just be called it and assumed, right? So
mhm. People feel safe in
that
that space.
right, exactly. It's like if we're gonna, bring ourselves to the space, um, have our own boundaries for ourselves
Mhm,
that in this community we want everyone to uphold and honor
yeah.
to the basis around what the safety is set up upon, and to hold that with integrity is really important. And to think about how even if I'm not having that sort of conversation with children, how I can hold a space for them, to show up as professionals, young professionals, you know, um, with thinking minds and thinking bodies and, curiousness. For myself, it's I don't even know if there's anything that I can sort of do. I don't think anything about me has changed in that nature other than like not being in specific rooms where certain dialogues are had that move me to a certain,
Mhm,
um, which is not a bad thing. I think I am learning myself completely differently and I like it. um, I'm working in retail for the first time ever in my life. Never worked in retail, never in clothes and stuff. So it's just a completely different way to encounter people. But
mhm.
all of the tools, they still apply in this space. So, um,
Customer service it is not for the weak.
I'm
Child.
I'm wondering about my longevity here.
Every week, I'm like, I'm putting in my 2
Exactly.
Me and one of my coworkers, we always joke about it, like, especially on a Saturday, because that's our busiest. We'll be doing things, and we just look at each other and we're like, 2 weeks.
Okay.
All right. I do wanna wrap up with a show and tell moment. I brought something out my closet that I wanted to show you.
Okay.
I'll go first.
Okay.
So there's this book that I found prior to Philly. I would find, like, little dance photography books and just watch or look at the images, and there's this, in the spirit of improv, there's this book called Natural Dance.
Hmm.
Um, it is not a Black experience, but it is a dance experience, and it touched me,
Yeah.
and basically, the dancers are, like, dancing with nature, like, there's some photos like, there's this one photo right here where this, dancer is, like, dancing beneath this big billowing tree,
Mm.
um, and then this one is, like, this person is on the ocean,
Beautiful.
and, like, it's like they're dancing with the water. I don't think they had any music,
Mhm.
and then there's some quotes and some things that some of the dancers said, and I think there was a quote by, um, a really famous influential dancer, but I don't remember who it is. But they said something along the lines of learn, like basically train as much as you can and then forget it.
Mhm.
Return to your natural impulse. And this makes me think of what you said earlier about like learning ballet and then seeing how that impacts and influences your freedom and your improv. So that's my little
It's called Dancing with Nature?
natural dance.
Natural dance.
I'm gonna send it to you.
Yeah,
I'm gonna text you the name and the author.
I love
Well, the
that.
photographer. Yeah.
That's very much more interesting and on brand than what
Oh
I
no, please.
have right here. Like, so I'm I'm gonna go back to something I was saying and hopefully remember something else. Um, I'm going back to thinking about, remembering how I felt about access and resources to dance spaces, and how significant that space is. This journey is so like non-linear where like the frustration gets really beyond me. It's I think I'm doing better than I would previously. I think I have more tools and all those sort of things. But this is more like a poetic reminder for me just because I have transitioned quite like starkly in these in between these worlds, right?
Mhm,
So like being new to the world of retail and still having access and the privilege and the honor to do something that I love a lot. I just have like these keys, and it's so funny. The last thing I was saying like is keys. So um I've been given the privilege to be in leadership in both of these two places.
mhm,
Um at the Gap and at the dance school and something feels really significant. It's almost like just being reminded that who I am, where I am is enough for growth and expansion. And like it's more about just having the keys to life, like all the tools that you've learned in these places that you've been, don't like to not be so worried,
mhm,
about like where you didn't get to yet or what may have fallen away in interest, like in the grieving process of that, even if it's something I didn't think was necessarily important to me anymore, like it still has its own grieving process. But it's like, I'm just reminded, like, I prayed for responsibility. I prayed for, not necessarily leadership, but I mean, that's just more it's like like after losing UARTs, uh, I really didn't know what the hell was gonna go on. Like I really I had a very, like, wild summer that summer.
mhm,
Um, and I think this was just like it was a gift because it was what I prayed for,
mhm,
and thinking about how to steward myself well, steward my talent, my knowledge, my abilities, my God-given abilities. It's like I'm just reminded that like these are like gems almost. Like it's a responsibility and they're like gems and I don't I'm happy to be here, like in these situations with these trials and tribulations, with these experiences and these people and it's just a constant reminder for me. So it's so not as beautiful.
I think it's more beautiful, honestly, and more meaningful. And like, mm, I've learned a lot of things from you, Jalan, since we met. And in your own, like, it's like you say things and don't realize how profound they are because you're just thinking out loud. But to me, I'm like, no, like, I'm going to take that. Because even now, like, I find myself in a place in life where I'm like, this is not what I thought.
Yeah,
Like, even while being in Philly before you were shut down, I saw certain things that couldn't happen at the time because of that, or just other things that have taken place in my life. And I'm learning how to latch on to beauty and what I can be grateful for and what this all means.
yeah.
And so I just feel very in sync with that. And I love the keys analogy. That is so beautiful. And I feel like you are like, who better than you to have that responsibility? You know, people can rely on you, and I'm one of those people who had a time, a really just, in a time where I didn't know how I was gonna do that performance, I was able to rely on you. And that speaks volumes to me. And I know a lot of people feel that way.
I appreciate that so much. Sincerely. Um, a fan or something. Like I can't touch and reach anything that'll help this situation. But
I'm sorry, I didn't
no,
mean
it's
to.
okay. I really appreciate, being received in the light that I hoped because I don't think about my impact. Like I just think about my honesty and, I'm
Mhm.
just like, hopefully I'm not the only person that feels this
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that would be crazy if like I'm the only
If I
one.
say something, if I put myself out there, if I'm honest like that, and then people are like, "No, I don't."
Yeah, like what it that's too much. And
Yeah.
and sometimes I am received like too much.
Mm.
So the very like fortunately I I I could never care. 'Cause I mean, even my mom, she'd be like, why all of that? It's always been all of this.
She's a performer, she's a dramatic girl.
Always, always been. It was very genuine.
Um, but Jalan, I really just wanna say I'm really excited to see more of your dancing. And if there's any that I live in New York, that's not that far.
Yeah.
If there's any, like, shows that you have coming up or anything that you find yourself in, please
Yeah.
let me know. I would love to hop on a bus or a train to Philly and see you perform. I've never seen you live. I've never gotten the chance to see you live yet. So that would be an absolute pleasure. Um,
I gotta get on stage.
yeah.
I gotta get on stage. I'm not dancing right now. I am choreographing, which is interesting. And also a part of that tension between where I'm
Mhm.
like holding improv in a place where I want it to teach me what to teach.
Yeah.
Um, but of course, of course, of course, of course,
Such a fabulous choreographer.
thank you. I'm
Well,
emerging.
Comedy emerging.
Thank you
Um,
so much, Daryl. I really do appreciate it more than I can say. Like, I think this was really timely. Um, Even like thinking about how it could have happened some time
mhm.
ago. I think
Yeah.
right now it's really like landing with me. I have a
I love
birthday coming up, like just the reflecting right
Wait,
now,
what's your birthday?
December 16th.
Are you Sagittarius or okay? That Capricorn Sag spectrum is so thin.
Yes.
But I'm like days I'm 31st.
Oh,
So Capricorn, yeah.
love that. Oh my goodness. And a lot if I wasn't a Sagittarius, I would probably be a Capricorn based on
Mhm.
the rest of my placements.
Wait, what's your 3 before we go?
Um, Sag, Aries, Libra. But I
Okay. I get Libra from you for sure.
yeah, yeah. And then a lot like Mercury, Venus, I think Mars, um, are in Capricorn. I might be missing
Mm,
one. Mercury,
okay.
Venus. Yeah, definitely Mercury and Venus for sure.
I am a very tortured existence. I'm Capricorn, Leo, Scorpio.
And I love every
If
bit of that
only you heard this inner dialogue, you'd be like, honey,
for me.
right? You can't be all right.
But outwardly, what you are exuding is
It's the Capricorn. I'm
fabulous.
telling you, the Capricorn is repressing all the chaos. I'm telling you.
Oh my goodness, Scorpio and Leo?
One more thing, just one.
Okay.
And the question on the board behind you. I would also love to ask each other that before we leave, real quick. What would you do if you couldn't fail?
Everything, literally.
Hmm.
I would start a small business. I would attempt to do a handstand free off of the wall. I would, I have a 30 before 30 list.
Mhm.
And I got a lot of things are getting done, but yeah, I would study French, be fluent in it.
Ooh, okay, French.
Yeah. I have a pretty decent background in it, I can understand it for the most part, but I do wanna be fluent.
I'm like, who's that French woman at the bar over there? I can see that.
That's
I really can see
hilarious. But I would do all the things, I would do all the job applications, I would write all the journal entries, you know, I would make all the content that I want to, I would dance as
that.
much as I want to,
Mhm.
um, and I wouldn't be afraid of judgment.
Mm. I copy and paste that entire statement. I wouldn't be afraid of judgment. And I don't know what it is about that with me. I feel like even with facing one of my biggest fears, which is stage fright, like I still struggle with being perceived. And I don't know how long. I think it's a constant thing for me that I'm gonna have to always work through.
Mm,
I thought it was gonna be, you know how we know it's nonlinear, our healing,
yeah,
but you hope secretly that it is.
yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like I was on this path where it felt like it was,
Mhm,
and I was trusting it, but going into the dance school really showed me a lot more of myself
mhm,
and shadow things and places where I felt like I wasn't good enough as a person and where it came from. And like dance exposed the shit out of me
mhm, and what
to myself. And it feels like everybody can see it too, but they can't. It's
right.
literally just like, so I would say too, I would do everything without worrying about how I'm perceived doing it. Well, all right. I'm gonna have to let you go. I don't want to.
I
This
know,
feels
right? I could
good.
do this all d I don't even wanna go to work
Same.
anyway. You have to work today?
But yeah, stay in touch. You have my new
Will
number. Uh,
do. I love you dearly.
I love you too. Thank you for your time. I hope you have a really good day today.
Thank
And
you.
we'll talk soon.
Alright, bye.
All right. See you. Bye.